Last week, I did a live stream, and some chatters in the live stream mentioned the passing of a content creator here on YouTube named Michaela Reigns. She ran a channel called Save a Fox. I think some people in the chat were like, "Did you hear Michaela Reigns passed away?" And I was like, who? I never heard of her or her channel prior. But I have since watched the video her partner, or her husband I believe, put out announcing her death. It was, needless to say, a very tough watch. A million condolences to him. I can't imagine what he's going through. At one point in the video, he mentions online harassment that Michaela was apparently receiving that was at least a factor into her taking her own life. She ran a fox rescue. There were people online accusing her of mistreating the foxes. I can't comment on the validity of those claims because, again, I barely know anything about her. But what was also said in the video was that Michaela had autism, and whenever something negative would be said about her, online or otherwise, she would take it very close to heart. And that got me thinking about how frankly disgusting and cruel of a place the internet is, and that's the main topic of this video. I too have autism, and similar to Michaela, a byproduct of my autism is my tendency to take negative things said about me a little too close to heart. This includes things that are, in the grand scheme of things, incredibly benign, like, hey, you're a little too quiet and kinda boring. This is something that's been said to me by quite a few people throughout my life because I'm not the most expressive or charismatic person. And in my mind, I'd be like, oh god, this person thinks I'm boring? How horrible. And I would dwell on that for far longer than I should have. Now that's how I am when someone says something negative about me in real life. On the internet, I mean, I've been making, I guess you can say, contentious videos on this channel for 11 years at this point. At least videos that are objectively more contentious than me just playing with a fox or whatever Michaela did on her channel. And in these last 11 years, I have been called every name in the book by nasty commenters. I have been told that I need to die, I've gotten death threats, and on very few occasions, rape threats even. And I have long since hardened myself to these kinds of comments and have learned to laugh them off. And this isn't me putting myself on a pedestal or anything, or even trying to insinuate that Michaela or anyone else who may have taken their own lives as a result of cyberbullying should have just toughened up. What I'm saying is, while I myself am not bothered when I receive vile comments like those, it is still objectively horrible that there are people who feel compelled to leave comments like those. But there are people who are not built to handle that, and I think it is especially valid if you're not able to handle that as the result of a neurological disorder you were born with and is beyond your control. And I hate the train of thought that the internet is just this toxic place where everyone is an asshole towards each other, and if you don't like it, well, toughen up, because it only encourages awful behavior that many people online would never in a million years exhibit towards someone in real life. And an unfortunate byproduct of the internet is it places a boundary between ourselves and whoever we're interacting with online. We don't get to see the person's immediate reaction to what we're saying. We know we're more than likely never going to see whoever we're interacting with online in real life. And the way social media is structured, it almost discourages individuality. A lot of people tend to only post their quote-unquote best versions of themselves on social media. And a lot of social media interaction is shallow and superficial, like just giving a post a like or leaving a surface-level reply. When someone is just words on your screen and you don't know anything about the person beyond what you see on the screen, you're probably not going to feel as much empathy and compassion for that person as you would someone you actually interact with face to face on a regular basis. And shitty people take advantage of that boundary and feel it gives them implicit permission to be as vile as they please towards other people online because they know there's not going to be any real consequences for their behavior, for them at least. The consequences we instead see happen are what happened to Michaela Reigns or Amanda Todd or anyone else who took their life as a result of harassment they received online. It doesn't matter if the words they read were merely just words on their screens. Words are still words at the end of the day and can impact people in different ways. And why should the victim of online harassment be the one who is scrutinized and not instead those who were responsible for the online harassment in the first place? Like Amanda Todd, who I just mentioned, I remember when she first passed. I was like 10 or 11 at the time. I remember her death being a pretty big deal. deal. I even had a school assembly dedicated to cyberbullying and online safety that was inspired by what happened to her, which is where I first heard about her. And I remember looking up videos on YouTube about her, and a lot of the comments were pretty disgusting, like, well, she shouldn't have shared her nudes in the first place, and she should have just been able to toughen up and be able to handle mean things being said to her by strangers online, or just shut off her computer. And looking back at all of that disgusting shit, it's really horrible that a disturbing amount of people had seemingly no compassion for a young teenage girl who, at the end of the day, made the wrong decision as a result of being young and naive, and chose to demonize her instead of the disgusting adult who was goading her into sending nudes in the first place, and those who shamed and harassed her after the fact that ultimately drove her to take her own life. But no, it's the naive teenage girl we should scrutinize instead. Harassing people and saying the most vile shit towards them, day in and day out, even on a virtual level, isn't always going to just result in hurt feelings that will quickly subside. We have seen time and time again that this shit can potentially lead to deadly consequences. But it doesn't matter because these assholes have the safety of being behind a monitor and keyboard, and they don't have to interact with the people they're being vile towards on a face-to-face level, so they don't have to worry about any consequences coming their way. And this is also why I'm not a fan of lolcow culture, if that's what you call it, because a lot of it is nothing more than harassing online figures that a lot of people see as just easy punching bags. And oftentimes, a lot of the people on the receiving end of this harassment are neurodivergent, and as a result of being neurodivergent, they may evoke a strong reaction to the harassment they're receiving, which only inspires the assholes harassing them to amp up the harassment to keep getting reactions like that. Case in point, Chris Chan, for example, who is a deeply disturbed individual and obviously has done her fair share of disgusting shit, but she's been the subject of an extensive online harassment and stalking campaign since, what, the early 2000s, so over 20 years at this point, spearheaded by people who very clearly only view her very apparent mental health issues as a source of entertainment. Regardless of what she has done, you're not going to convince me that all of these people who have obsessed over her for this fucking long have participated in this necessary effort to document all of her mishaps and scandals, and not instead just very sad people with clearly nothing else going on in their lives if they're going to spend this much time dedicated to paying attention to someone online. And you're also not going to convince me otherwise that all of the harassment and trolling she has received didn't help exacerbate the already existing mental health issues she had. For as much as I love many aspects about the internet, this toxic culture of punching down and harassing quote-unquote easy targets is easily one of the aspects I hate the most about the internet. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.